If you're a leader, you face this choice pretty much every single day. Do you just make the call, push for that quick decision, and move on? Or do you slow things down a bit to get everyone on the same page? It's that classic tension, confrontation versus collaboration.
So here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll start with that leader's dilemma, then we'll dive into a real consensus playbook. We'll talk about the surprising power of hitting pause, what to do when confrontation is unavoidable, and wrap it all up with a new way to think about leadership.
All right, let's jump right in. This whole choice between consensus and confrontation, it gets a little murky, right? And that's usually because of some pretty common and honestly kind of outdated ideas about what makes a leader strong.
So let's tackle the first big myth head-on. You've probably heard it before, this idea that if you stop to ask your team for input, you look weak or like you can't make up your mind. But is that really what's happening? Or is it actually the smarter way to play?
And then you've got the flip side of that coin, the belief that just being direct, being confrontational is just faster, more efficient. I mean, it feels that way, doesn't it? Just lay down the law and get things done. But you have to wonder, what's the real hidden cost of moving that fast?
Okay, so let's flip this around and talk about the consensus playbook. It's really about redefining what leadership strength even is. And first things first, we got to be super clear on what we mean by consensus, because it is definitely not about getting stuck in endless meetings or trying to make everyone happy.
What it really is a process, a structured way of working together. And listen, the point is not to get a unanimous yes from every single person. The goal is to get all the feedback out on the table so you can land on a decision that everyone can actually support, because it's the best move for the whole group. And see, this isn't some fluffy concept. It's a real playbook with actual steps. You kick things off by getting feedback from everyone. Then you all get together to talk about the main goal. You hash out all the concerns, and then you agree on how to move forward. And this is key. You schedule a joint follow-up. It's a simple, repeatable system that gets everyone pulling in the same direction.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wow, that sounds like a lot of work. And yes, sometimes it is. But the payoff, the benefits you get from it, that's where the real magic happens.
Think about the long game here. The payoff is massive. You're not just checking a decision off your to-do list, you're actually building a better, stronger team. You're creating an environment where people can grow and trust each other. And that leads to real ownership, because when it's our plan instead of just the boss's plan, man, the commitment level is just worlds apart. Okay, so let's circle back to that myth of efficiency. This whole consensus thing. It asks you to do something that feels kinda wrong in today's go-go-go world. It forces you to hit pause. Just let that sink in for a minute. Our gut reaction is always to jump in, fix the problem, make a call right now. But if you're being honest with yourself, most of that urgency is just made up. It's self-imposed. There are very, very few fires that absolutely have to be put out this instant. So the big question is, how? How do you actually slow things down? It's easy to say, just pause, but when you're under pressure, how do you make that happen in a practical way? Well, here's a great little tool for that. It's called the SAC process. Before you leap into actions, it makes you stop and think about the situation, all the possible activities you could take, and, this is huge, the likely consequences of each one. It's basically a framework for thinking before you leap.
And that's really the core idea here. Pausing on purpose. It isn't weakness. It's not hesitation. It's actually one of the smartest, most powerful moves you can make as a leader. It's literally your best friend when it comes to avoiding those heat-of-the-moment decisions that you end up kicking yourself for later.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Choosing a consensus approach doesn't mean you're entering some fantasy land where conflict never happens. Not at all. There will still be times when you have to have those tough conversations. Sometimes you got to confront the issue.
The thing is, confrontation is way more common in those old-school command and control style workplaces. You know the type. When people feel like they don't have a voice, they get frustrated. But in a culture that's all about learning and growing, one that's built on consensus, you just don't see it nearly as much.
Look, nobody enjoys confrontation. It's never a good time. But the goal isn't to get rid of it completely. That's not realistic. The idea is to make it the absolute last resort, a rare exception, not your go-to move. And when it does have to happen, you handle it with diplomacy. And for those times when you have to step in, maybe with someone who just isn't being a team player, these rules are your lifeline.
This isn't about winning an argument, it's about being a professional. You never lose your temper, you're always respectful, and this is so important, you let them talk. You listen, because it's not a fight, it's a problem you're trying to solve together.
So, when you boil it all down, shifting from a command style to a consensus style, it's more than just learning a new technique. It's a total shift in how you think about leadership itself. It's a whole new mindset. And it really kicks off with being a little humble. You have to accept the fact that, hey, you don't have all the right answers. In fact, you have to be totally okay with the idea that you might just be wrong about something.
This right here, this is the motto. Listen to your team. It sounds so simple, right? But it means more than just being quiet while someone else talks. It means really listening, trying to genuinely understand where everyone else is coming from. And this just sums it all up perfectly. It's that paradox we've been talking about. Sometimes, to go faster, you got to ease up on the accelerator. By slowing down just enough to get everyone aligned, you end up building so much more momentum. You actually get where you're going faster and in a way that lasts.
So I want to leave you with a challenge. Just think about this coming week. Can you find one decision, doesn't have to be a huge one, where you can fight that urge to just react, where you can intentionally hit pause and actually bring your team in on it? Give it a try.